A recent poll found that 37% of Americans have a positive view of the FBI. And that's from an NBC poll. I wouldn't exactly call that right media propaganda, and I think I know why. Here's what the American people know and believe about the FBI today, sir. If you are a Trump, you'll be prosecuted. If you are a Biden, you'll be protected. And the American people that I represent are sick and tired of this double standard. It seems like every single hearing that we have in this room, we talk about the two-tiered justice system of Biden's DOJ and the FBI, and as we were talking earlier, here we are again. President Trump endured an unprecedented raid at his home in Mar-a-Lago. President Biden's home, however, was respectfully browsed. President Trump is facing up to 400 years in federal prison for allegedly being in possession of classified documents he obtained as the commander-in-chief of these United States of America. And meanwhile, President Biden is facing no charges for the classified documents he had held at his time as a senator and a vice president, not the president of these United States of America. And last I checked, he had no legal authority to declassify those documents. Assuming President Trump was in possession of said classified documents, would those documents be more secure, surrounded by Secret Service at Mar-a-Lago, or in a box, in a garage, behind your Corvette? You know the answer to that question. Question for you, sir. What can you tell us about the status of the FBI's investigation of President Biden's classified documents found next to his Corvette in Delaware and those found at the Penn Biden Center? Do we have an update on that, sir?
What I can tell you is that there is an ongoing special counsel investigation led by Mr. Robert Hur, and we have FBI agents affiliated with it, working on it, working very actively and aggressively with him on that case. I obviously disagree with your description of the two standards. In my view, at least under my watch, we have one standard. Okay. And that is we're going to pursue the facts wherever they lead, no matter who likes it. And I add that last part because especially in sensitive investigations, almost by definition, somebody's not going to like it. So
I understand, and that's actually why I led with the sentiment of the American people. I understand that's your sentiment. I do want to finish this. So I want everybody to talk about this dichotomy that we have seen. I get your point, sir, but that's just not what we see as the public, as we the people. We see one case being fast-tracked and one case being slow-walked. We see one president's home being raided, the other president's home being kindly searched. You have one government agency, the Secret Service, protecting the former president and his home, and another government agency, the FBI, raiding the same home. Now, to me, sir, that's tragically ironic. And we expect more from a functional constitutional republic, and these things shouldn't be happening. Now, it's my opinion that Joe Biden is the most unpopular president we have seen in a century, and that's why he knows the only way to stop President Trump from beating him in November is by putting him in jail. You talked about this, Mr. Fry. In the 247 years of this existence of this great nation, only one president has ever been indicted by the DOJ and has home raided by the FBI. Now, some have said that President Trump's indictment means that no one is above the law. Okay, all right, I would love to see that. But what about Hillary Clinton? And what about Joe Biden? And what about Hunter Biden, who is America's favorite son? And let me tell you something. I got a 4-year-old daughter and a 2-year-old daughter at my house. Hunter Biden to me is like glitter. He is on everything and you cannot get rid of him. And yet nothing is going to be done about this. We're sick of it. James Comey decided not to prosecute Hillary Clinton despite overwhelming evidence that she committed crimes. And as I recall, it was the position of the FBI to not prosecute because they didn't want to interfere with the presidential election. What do you call this? The Iowa caucuses are in 6 months. 6 months. I think the American public would expect to see this from Cuba and from Venezuela and from Russia and from China, but not here. The people expect us to have blind justice. They expect equal justice under the law. It is not the job of the DOJ or the FBI to prosecute Joe Biden's top political opponent, who is leading in every single primary poll, and the Iowa caucuses are in 6 months. Let the people decide. It's our job to uphold the Constitution. As a West Point grad and military veteran, this is the Constitution I'm giving my life to protect, and I expect us all to uphold it likewise. Thank you so much for being here.
Mr. Chairman, may I briefly respond?
Sure.
So number one, as to the investigations related to Mrs. Clinton, as you noted, that happened under my predecessor, and I'm not going to attempt to speak for or defend that decision.
I recognize that.
Second, as to your descriptions of the investigations related to Hunter Biden, as you know, there is an ongoing investigation being led by the Delaware U.S. Attorney appointed by President Trump, and we are actively working on that investigation with him.
Well, we look forward to seeing the results of this quickly and swiftly.
And third and finally, to your point about the American people and their views, I worry less about NBC polls or polls by any other news outlet, but I will tell you that the number of people in Texas applying to work for us since I've been in this job has gone up 93%, and in fact,
I'm not going to quote Matt Gaetz. I heard his response to this earlier.
In fact, we have
that's great,
more applicants from the state of Texas annually in the last several years than any other state in the country.
And that makes sense because Texas is the greatest state in the country.
Then I think that speaks very well of the view of Texans about the FBI.
Director, any agents who served on the Crossfire Hurricane investigation or the Mueller investigation, are any of those agents on Mr. Hur or Mr. Smith's special counsel team?
I don't believe so, but I can't, on the top of my head, go through the list of, there's a lot of agents involved in the two investigations, and so let me check into that and see if there's any way we can get back to you on that, because I don't want to get out over my skis.
Thank you. Gentleman from Wisconsin is recognized for 5 minutes.
Director Wray, thanks for being here today. On June 21st, the committee heard testimony from Special Counsel John Durham. Have you reviewed his findings, and did you dispute any of those?
I have reviewed them. There's a big multi-hundred-page binder of it sitting right to my right on my desk, and I refer to it frequently. I can't say that I'm aware of anything specific that I would dispute in it. Certainly, as you may know, not only did we fully cooperate with him in the investigation, as he noted in his report, but I actually assigned a bunch of agents and FBI personnel to work on it with him to help him. And I'm very proud of the fact that the reforms that we've put in place in response to the Inspector General's investigation, also in the Crossfire Hurricane, as well as some other changes that we made working closely with Attorney General Barr, if those reforms had been in place back at the time that all of this stuff that Special Counsel Durham found, I don't think any of this would have happened.
So the confirmation bias, which was brought up time and time again when Durham was here before the committee, you feel those have been addressed? I think Jason Jones says you put together a letter, and that includes a lot of that information. Do you feel it's adequate, or?
Well, I'm ambitious by nature for us as an organization, so we're constantly looking for more things we can do. But I'll give you an example on this issue of bias, because I think it's so important. One of the things that I did as FBI director, and I did this a couple of years ago, was in order, and this frankly, it was in reaction in many ways more to both the Hillary Clinton investigation as well as the Crossfire Hurricane investigation, was that I put in place training for the entire workforce that focused specifically not just on the importance of avoiding bias, but the importance of avoiding even the appearance of bias. And one of the things that I did to make sure that I was sending that message was that rather than like the way it normally happens in a bureaucracy where all the training gets saddled on all the folks on the front lines right out of the gates, I started with the top 200, 300 or so people in the organization, brought them all to Quantico for an entire day, stand down. We heard from the federal judiciary, the Inspector General, the Hatch Act Office of Special Counsel, and the whole point of it was the importance of not just objectivity, but making sure that we are faithful to the appearance of objectivity as well. And then we had a smaller version of that went out to the whole workforce. But the idea was to send the message that everybody at the top has to take the medicine first.
So there's two other things that were in there. Serious lack of analytical rigor was one of the other things that Durham brought up numerous times. And then there was a noticeable departure from how the FBI approached matters involving possible attempted foreign election interference plans amid, as you just brought up, at the Clinton campaign. So the question would be, has the FBI protocol surrounding investigations, I want to know specifically in the presidential campaigns, what's the policy now? We're on the verge of another nationwide election, and I'm wondering, is there anything specific in writing that you could inform the committee of this afternoon?
Well, we put in place a whole slew of reforms that help to try to mitigate against the kind of concerns you're raising. Whether there's a specific one that I would think is I don't think there's any one that's a single silver bullet. I know that Attorney General Barr and I put in place certain reforms that dealt with particularly sensitive investigations and approvals that would have to be required before anything like that could happen. I know that was very important to him, and we worked together on that. But we have a whole slew of additional approvals, sign-offs, triple checks, safeguards, et cetera, that go into a lot of these kinds of issues. When you raise the issue of analytical rigor, obviously I talk about rigor. I bet my folks would tell you they hear the word rigor coming out of my mouth probably every single day. And that is something that we're always aspiring to get better at.
So if you had somebody within the FBI that you found out was involved in trying to manipulate or rig an election, especially at the national level, I mean, how would that be handled by the FBI? How would you handle it as a director?
Well, obviously it would depend on the specific facts as to exactly what it is the person was doing, but accepting your premise, that's the kind of thing that would have the person referred to our disciplinary process.
To be fired or terminated?
And the process would play itself out. I mean, we have a whole offense code that goes into, what different rules we have and different punishments, and there's a whole complicated system that goes into the disciplinary process. Our disciplinary process is, for the most part, I think one of the better ones in federal law enforcement, but there is a process that we have to follow.
Has anybody that was involved in that type of action in the past been disciplined for that at the FBI?
Well, let me answer that this way. Obviously, former employees, the important point here is that all the senior managers in any way involved in the Crossfire Hurricane investigation are all gone from the FBI for a variety of reasons in a variety of ways. To the extent that there's anybody left, you're talking about a small handful of currently line level employees, all of whom have been referred to this disciplinary process. That process, as you may have heard me say in response to an earlier exchange, as is typical, working with Special Counsel Durham, we had to put that kind of on hold until he could finish his case, because the criminal case had to come first. And that process is now fully underway. But again, you're talking about a few relatively line-level people where we erred on the side of inclusion. So anybody who touched it, we sent them to the process, and we'll see where that plays itself out. But the key point is that all the main players, if you
gõ cửa trái tim van anh được vào, dù tình xót đau chung thân huyệt đau, ngủ vùi với chim bao nỗi niềm mắt xanh xao, nhưng em vẫn ngóng tim anh mở cửa. Gõ cửa trái tim sao anh hững hờ, ngõ hồn tái tê năm canh thẫn thờ, nhện lòng mắc răng tơ để một mối bơ vơ, khi không anh nhốt em trong đợi chờ. để em gõ cửa miên man mà anh không chút oán than. Em buồn lang thang gõ cửa trái tim nghe xa nghìn trùng, đèn mờ hắt hiu cô đơn tận cùng, đàn lỡ phím sai cung, tình này cũng mông lung, tìm anh ai khóa để em lạnh lùng. Gõ cửa trái tim van anh được vào, dù tình xót đau chung thân huyệt đau, ngủ vùi với chim bao nỗi niềm mắt xanh xao, nhưng em vẫn ngóng tim anh mở cửa. Gõ cửa trái tim sao anh hững hờ, ngõ hồn tái tê năm canh thẫn thờ, nhện lòng mắc răng tơ để một môi bơ vơ, khi không anh nhốt em trong đợi chờ. Tim anh bằng vàng nên tiếng kêu nghe bè ba, để em gõ cửa miên man mà anh không chút oán than. Em buồn lang thang gõ cửa trái tim nghe xa nghìn trùng, đèn mờ hắt hiu cô đơn tận cùng, đàn lỡ phím sai cung, tình này cũng mông lung, tìm anh ai khóa để em lạnh lùng. Đàn lỡ phím sai cung, tình này cũng